Welcome back to another episode of Decoded, guys. My name is Jesse, and I'm the writer, director, and narrator for the Lost Codex episodes. And if you guys have listened to Decoded, or if you watched our analysis and reaction videos, you will know the face next to me. Am I pointing in the right direction? I am pointing in the right direction for the first time. Jack, no, you're pointing in the wrong direction, Jack. Point the other way. Yeah, there we go. I'm over here. Thank you, Jack, for joining us on our first live Decoded podcast. Is it the first? Am I lying?
Is it?
The first, yeah. It's actually
the first with me, which means it should be considered the first.
That's it. Now, if you guys are listening to this podcast, the audio version of the YouTube version, I apologize. There's probably going to be no visuals. As I said in the pre-show, my PC can't really handle the editing right now. And with Jeff working on all the Lost Codex lore videos coming, you guys are going to miss out. But it encourages, come to Twitch, watch us on Twitch. But you're gonna get all the juicy details we're going to talk about today, which is really nothing. It's just going to be a ramble.
Wait, I didn't get to say hi.
Oh, okay, fine, go for it.
Hi, I'm Jack. I'm a Decoded co-host and Lost Codex artist, which you all should know by now.
Anything else?
No, that's it. I like Forsaken.
All right, cool. All right, do you?
I do.
All right, we should talk about them sometime. So we're going to talk about nothing and everything today. We're basically, the title of this podcast in my notes, and its pending title is "Twas the Night Before Launch." We are
post-pre.
Oh God, we are 20 hours away. We are 20 hours. Yeah, we are less than 24 hours away. You probably listen to this. It's probably Battle for Azeroth, and why are you listening to this if Battle for Azeroth is out? Go listen to the in-game music.
Give past us. Don't yell at us for being wrong about things that haven't happened yet.
This is in the past. So everything that we're going to make some predictions, but obviously we don't know what's going on. So this is the night before Battle for Azeroth. And when's the last time you were this excited for an expansion there, Jack? And before you say you're not excited at all.
I'm just totally, I couldn't give a shit. No, the last time I was excited for an expansion like this, I actually don't know, to be frank. I'm like, pre-patches usually don't hype me up. They're usually just kind of fun little mini games that get you kind of like worked up a bit. This has me like super hyped, super worked up. I actually can't even really fathom the last time I've been this excited, not even for Wrath. And I know that's kind of sacrilege to say. Little 13-year-old me wasn't like this hyped up for it. I feel faction pride, I feel in-game racial pride or disdain, and the video content. I've been the cinematic releases have been really exciting. How about you? Have you ever been this hyped? I've been pretty hyped. I've read a book for the first time. I've never actually read any of Golden's books or any of the other authors' books. So
I thought you were going to say you've never read a book ever. I've literally never read literature ever.
I bought Hooked on Phonics so I could read Before the Storm, and it was great.
I literally learned the English language just for this expansion.
I've been thinking about the pre-patch in general, and I've gone through periods of frustration, followed by like extreme hype, followed by a little more frustration, followed by yes, this is amazing. Once I had everything,
it's like a roller coaster of emotions going on right now.
I felt a little let down by the way Teldrassil unfolded. Honestly, in game, the way it unfolded. But then the battle for the Undercity blew my expectations out of the water for a pre-patch event. So that kind of balances it out, equalizes it.
I agree with with Darnassus and Teldrassil didn't play out in game as well until the novella came out. And what I really disagree with is that the novella was time gated.
Yes, I agree. It should have been out as soon as that relevant content came out.
Agreed.
It was the answer that we wanted.
I liked where the story stopped in the first half of Darkshore. Mm-hmm. Taryn Gregory is hosting us to 12 viewers. Thank you, Taryn. By the way, Taryn's going to make us all cry tomorrow. There's going to be a lot of cinematics. We have to talk about how we're going to do that. I appreciate
you, but I'm kind of pissed because you're doing too much with my feelings.
Right. I think
I'm still kind of blowing my mind on the Warcraft 3 similarities between the cinematics. I know that it's a basic thing, but
we'll get to there. We'll get to there because that was like, man, we should have recorded the unraveling of that moment. But before I lose my thought with Teldrassil, it's already gone.
No,
where
I
they
mean,
stopped in that first week I think was appropriate. Sylvanas kind of came to a stalemate, even though that stalemate
knowing
never
everything,
came
I
up.
agree. Yeah.
It didn't really come up in the novella. The novella, the attack on Darkshore happens really fast. There's no like week-long stalemate. But I think that the first 2 chapters of the novella should have come out with the first week. And I think the novella is entirely necessary if you want the full story and the full horror of it, because it's hard to showcase how much, like how scary war really is in a not scenario environment. I think that
Sure.
the horror of Lordaeron
The Blight did
and
the
the
whole Blight
Blight,
part of the scenario was really great in that regard.
like we were shitting our pants as we were doing it. We were like, what is, oh my god, I can't run fast enough kind of thing. But I think the scared horrors of Darkshore and Ashenvale, they kind of missed the point. And it really struck home of how scary it was when I was on my Alliance character trying to save as many civilians as I could.
That was impactful.
The music playing, I was like, oh my god. And I'm watching that, I'm just flying around trying to get as many people as I can to safety. And that's when I was like,
You notice the timer and you're like,
what, all these people are going to die. I'm literally going to save 12 out of 982.
I got
and
like 80.
I think it's I think I had 70, somewhere close to 70. So like not even a good percentage of the population. Sorry, darn asses. But the novellas, I think, are completely necessary to understand the full horror of it all. You really get that Starfang's first reaction, and everyone screamed in rage when Starfang did nothing in the Sylvanas Warbringers. And even though we didn't even see him at the end, like we saw him once at the beginning, so it's kind of like, this is where I disagree that they should have just released it all at once, the novella and the short, because the short didn't show Starfang saying anything, but then his CGI cinematic blatantly did, kind of thing. And I felt that there was a little bit of disconnect there.
That little gap between those elements coming out did create this sort of vacuum for outrage and not seeing a particular character shine at the right moment, whether it was Saurfang or Tyrande or Delarin or what have you.
And I think maybe the intent was to do that, to kind of create this sort of community collective rage, and then when Starfang came out, there was this community collective sigh of, oh thank god, like yes, the movement, the shoulder pad movement, everything started coming out. I just wish that a lot of the stuff was kind of, maybe the novella was gated with the content that was relevant, just to provide some more backstory, because again, all that stuff, the horrors of Ashenvale, the Ashenvale conflict is so gory and so awful in the novella, and we don't see any of that in the game. We slit a couple throats, and sure, that's bad, but not nearly as bad as what we do in the novella itself.
Totally. I mean, and I have my own views on kind of core narrative being present in the novella with no real hints in game, like Saurfang's protest. Yeah. I would have liked to see at least something that points us to say, hey, go look at the other media to find out more. Like a little just line of dialogue. I know that there's a limited budget for dialogue in game, and I've often preached that myself. But a little something for Saurfang or Nathanos or somebody would have been nice. In the end, we did get the whole picture, though, especially if you have been reading the things. I didn't read the novellas. I just got told about them. Sorry, I will read them eventually. But I did keep up with the cinematics. That's really the I might. I did keep up with the cinematics, the reaction videos, and I did read Before the Storm because it was about my bae.
Which one?
And my new bae.
New bae.
All the baes. That's not Anduin. He needs to cut his fucking hair. I agree with Gen Greymane. I never thought I'd say that, by the way. I used to hate Gen. Now I like him. What are you doing to me, Golden? But
by the way, the opening of the Alliance novella has Greymane yelling at Anduin to cut his damn hair. And,
people in the Discord know what I'm talking about.
Jack just put up both hands, was like, yes, preach. But I think if someone really needs to, like, once we've seen all the cinematics and once we've read the novellas, what just happened in lore is probably one of the biggest, most horrifying things next to the Scourge of Lordaeron.
And that's one thing to note about the pre-patch. This is one of the first pre-patches where we can't really guess the course of the expansion afterwards. Like Legion, we know we're eventually going to defeat the Legion. With Wrath, we know we're eventually going to face down Arthas and defeat him. With Cataclysm, we're going to eventually defeat Deathwing, and on and on. Eventually we're going to stop Garrosh. And this time I have no idea what the fuck is going to happen. What the fuck? Where does it go from here? It's already like at climax level, just events. And where do we go from here?
Starts the expansion.
How do we go up from here?
Destroying an entire city
and a world tree.
Like the world tree, and it goes out of. I keep going back to the novellas, and if you're gonna take anything from this podcast, just read the novellas. The Horde one is great. The Alliance one is heart-wrenching. Christy Gold does a great job at just tearing every part of your inner organs
out.
Her
fucking goal was just to make you some.
Yeah, really, she's like, here's some new characters for you to get invested in, and then I'm gonna kill them by the end.
I hate you, Golden, but I love you.
The horror of Teldrassil burning didn't register until that final chapter of reading the novella. And it talks about the civilians scrambling to get through the portal and how there was congestion in Ruthrain village, the little village at the base of the tree, and how they're all trying to swarm through the portal to get to Darnassus when the Horde drops liquid napalm on them and the whole village just goes up in flames in seconds. She describes the village burning and you're like, oh my God. And she describes as civilians are running from the starting zone on Teldrassil to try and get to the capital, and the fire just consuming every corner of the top of the world tree. You're kind of like, holy shit, this is as bad as Arthas walking through Lordaeron and slaughtering everyone. This is yeah. You could even argue all the other horrible things that have happened. The deaths on the Broken Shore it was a war zone. Garrosh dropping the bomb on Theramore, horrible thing. It was a nuclear strike, but it was instant kind of thing. This was not instant, and it's kind of it's almost sickening to read, but beautifully written.
I've read excerpts, when the statue. Well, I won't even say anything because we're still in spoiler zone on that.
Read the novellas. Listen to Jack, who didn't read the novellas, and read the novellas.
Read them.
And if you pick up your Battle for Azeroth Collector's Edition on Monday, tomorrow, holy crap, tomorrow, look at the art. And look at what's going on. I want to talk about some of the interviews, or before we actually go to there, let's talk about some of the zone phasing that's happened.
Oh, they have learned a lot since they introduced phasing. And what was it, Kata, that they introduced phasing large scale? It's just been really seamless for me. It's been almost unexpected, the way that the refugees just show up in the capital cities and where you discover them and all over the place in very natural places. It feels like the world is alive and dynamic in a way that World of Warcraft hasn't really felt before. World of Warcraft typically feels very static and more like you're moving through slices of time. Here it feels like there's actually kind of a gradation, and that's unusual, and I like it. Go visit Lordaeron. Go visit Teldrassil. With Teldrassil, you can't really visit it. You just more see it. But you can go visit Lordaeron, which isn't just a scenario. It's actually the live zone if you've done it, or if you're one.
Yeah. So if you've done the Battle for Lordaeron, the zone of Tirisfal has physically changed to the scenario, and the blight stops right before the Alliance camp. So if you're actually on Wormrest or Moonguard or Argent Dawn, there's actually a lot of roleplay going on in Tirisfal. Go to Bro. What's left of it.
Brill's always
literally it is now an Alliance hub at least on Wormrest a couple days ago. I was like, really? Brill is now an RP hub? I never would have thought a couple years ago that, oh yeah, Brill will be an Alliance RP hub one day because it's a pile of garbage.
Right.
And what's really cool is you see the blighted skeletons walking through the ruins, and if you get close enough to the ground, you die really fast. The blight actually, so you can't go into the Undercity. You can't bubble into the Undercity. I'm pretty sure there's no way to avoid it.
I tried.
It's just a death zone, and you can land on the upper walls, and it's really kind of resonates with Sarfang and Sylvanas standing up there. But it's just really cool how you see the leftover camps, and you see where because something we noted after that Jack and I noted after the scenario is, what happens to Mechatork? She just blights the city, and Mechatork was left aside. I didn't realize the dialogue.
Brill's fine.
Anduin says, "Take everyone else back to Brill," and then we find out Brill's okay. So don't worry, Mechatork didn't die off screen. Mechatork is
fine. Zappy Boy's still up in the air. I'm sure that they won't kill Zappy.
Or they will later on in the expansion, just as like a gut wrencher, just kind of like war is war. But I don't think they're gonna kill him.
If Golden has her way,
don't give Zakan to Christy Golden. So I like how Christy, I was gonna say, I like how we're attributing her to the George R. R. Martin of the C Dev team. And I say that as someone who is just a fanboy of Christy Golden's books.
Love Christy.
Tides of War was the one that really kind of yanked my heart out. And then
I still haven't read it.
Then Before the Storm, that was just like my heart put back in and then yanked out and then put back in and then oh my god, there were so many feelings.
The last 5
it felt like a Game of Thrones episode. The end of the book, you knew something was going down, and you're like, "Holy crap!" The end of this episode, something's going to happen. It's going to be a Ned Stark situation. Oh my god! We got some comments here, and people are just probably shitposting. They're talking about Jaina's dad's boat. Was that Jaina's dad's boat? Phil's asking if that was Jaina's dad's boat. So
we've messaged people. We've used our contacts at Blizzard.
No one wants to tell me if it's Blizzard's dad.
Asked the community. No one's not really sure.
By the way,
is it Blizzard's dad? Is it Chris Metzen? I think Terrellian should be dad.
Because Khadgar's gone. And you know what? I'm a little cheesed with Dadgar there.
He's hanging out with Thrall. They've got a deadbeat dad.
I didn't, in the Silithus quest line, Khadgar says, "I will not take up arms against those that I've fought against."
It's not.
And I'm like, okay, I get it, bro. You've befriended the Horde over 2 expansions. That's cool. That's open-minded of you.
Meanwhile, Jaina's like, bitch,
and then
let's be real.
Teldrassil gets set on fire, and 1,000 civilians and children burn. And I'm just like, Khadgar, I get you're cool, but are you just not cool with Night Elves?
Are you gonna help anybody who's dying?
Because I'm pretty sure if Jaina had flooded Orgrimmar, Thrall would be like, oh hell no, and put his beads back on, or his whatever his beads do. Are they gone? Garrosh? No, I think Garrosh ripped them off. That was his last good act.
It's just like a fitness thing.
He's got an app on the Doomhammer. No, he doesn't have the Doomhammer anymore.
Doesn't even have the Doomhammer.
Thrall's supposed to be active in this expansion, and I'm kind of curious. They said when they showed main characters of Battle for Azeroth at BlizzCon, it was like Sylvanas, Anduin, Gen, and Thrall, and then he was holding an urn.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
And Vol'jin's urn.
So I'm wondering where Thrall's... What's he going to do? As much as I dislike Thrall, I kind of want to see him come back in the spotlight. What could you possibly do? I'm open-minded to it, because at this point, I'm kind of like, you failed the Horde.
What will Thrall be?
Well, Metzen did say he will always come back to voice Thrall. Yeah.
That's good to know.
Because he came back for Battle for Azeroth to voice those stuff. We actually found out that Metzen, the last Warcraft thing that Metzen worked on at Blizzard was the Battle for Azeroth cinematic that they showed at BlizzCon with Anduin and Sylvanas. That was the last thing that he had a role in before he took off. I'm curious to see where Thrall goes, because he was useless in the fight against the Legion. He's literally crawling around on the floor on the Broken Shore.
I have no expectations for him. Either way.
At this point, he's not dead, so it's are you going to do something? But I don't know.
He's raising a kid. It takes time.
2 kids? I don't know how many kids he has.
I want to see his wife. Maybe give his wife some time to be a badass.
They gave her time.
Maybe she picks
unfortunately,
up the beads.
Agra is just arm candy for him. Unfortunately, I hate to say it, they introduced Agra, and I was like, oh man, they're going to choose a totally badass orc female. But that's what the goal was, and instead she's just the wife character. I was like, what? Draka's 2 seconds of dialogue in Warlords was better than the entire expansion of Agra in Cataclysm. There's a moment where Durotan and Draka, alternate universe, say to Thrall, do you have a mate? boy, are you single? And he's like, yeah, I got a mate back home. And Agra's like, why is she back home? And Thrall's like, oh, she's taking care of the babies. And Agra's like, no place, like, she should be here next to you on the battlefield. Get someone else to take care of the babies. She should be beside you, you noob. And then she shows up in Nagrand. Like, I guess Thrall was like, damn, like, calls his wife, like, yo, alternate mom is getting mad at me. And so Agra shows up, but she still didn't really do anything. And I was like, geez, like, Agra had such cool potential. And I feel that she was just turned into Thrall's baby making machine. Like, I don't feel that she's done. She was involved in the quest line where Thrall was ripped apart in Cataclysm by the elements, and you had to go look for his spirit in the elemental planes. And then they get married.
I
at the
remember
end.
that.
That was, I guess, kind of cool. But we haven't really seen anything else. And I feel that Agra as a character had so much more potential. But
Me too.
it's not too late.
It's not too late.
Maybe Thrall dies and Agra becomes this totally different character. I'd like to see Zayla turn up. I know you're not really familiar with orc characters, but Zayla was Garrosh's potential lady interest. She was the final boss. Yeah, she was the final boss of Dragon Maw.
She's Dragon Maw, right?
Garrosh is the one, like, she takes over the Dragon Maw, and there's all this, like, these headcanons that her and Garrosh maybe had a child. We kill her in Upper Blackrock Spire. But, you know, Blizzard can just say, like, do we? Do we
kill her? Did she?
So, I don't know.
No, she didn't. Or Sylvanas raises her. Or somebody else raises her.
Oh, yeah, Thomas Augusto asked, what happened to Crassus? Yeah, he did. He died in Cataclysm. He's gone. He died in... who killed him off? Christy Golden? Probably. Who wrote the Thrall book? Was that Christy or Richard Knack? I can't remember. Anyway,
I don't know.
Crassus dies in there. So, you know, big heroic sacrifice for the Red Dragonflight. What are thoughts about Nathanos? Jack, let's talk about Nathanos.
What are the thoughts?
I have thoughts. We have lots of thoughts. So
I think they're deliberately. We've said repeatedly, and I'm sorry to like cut you off here. You're probably thinking the same thing as me, but we've seen repeatedly that he's hesitating, and some people have questioned whether it's a hesitation or just like he's moody. But
I mean, he is moody, but
everything in a cinematic is deliberate, like the timing, the pacing. If he was really gung ho, he would just immediately be like in the wings, ready to do things. But he always pauses. He always waits, regards her. Sometimes you see a flicker of something. We saw it in the comic, which is a even more deliberate and explained situation. And we see it in the books. In the books, it's, as I've said countless times at this point, it's really, really overt how much he is not sure about what Sylvanas is doing. But he also loves her. Just as his emotions make him feel guilt, he also feels something for her. This is the woman he loved in life.
And what's interesting is a lot of people haven't read Nathanos' short story, which explains how he got his body, why he's like a sexy vampire.
I did read it.
And because Blizzard came out with the model before any context, so it was like, oh yeah, this is Nathanos, by the way. And I was like, whoa, are we just supposed to totally just accept
before he used to be a groovy
that
bitch?
He has always looked like this? No context, and then Blizzard's like, oh yeah, by the way, here's a short story. And it's like, oh, this literally explains how he went from a rotting husk to, you know, sexy vampire.
People are like, why don't we all look like that as Forsaken? And it's like, well, if Sylvanas had enslaved Aegir, actually you all would, probably. But it takes a Valkyr to do it.
Valkyr,
and if you have Aegir, then you have infinite.
You have to have a sacrifice.
Yes.
So that's awkward.
Well, if they took Stormwind, that would help.
Kind of, yeah. Actually, maybe that was part of the thought process.
Let's.
At the end of the short story,
Sylvanas cares about aesthetics.
She does. She's like Jack. Her transmog's always been on point. At the end of the short story, Nathanos goes from undead husk to what he looks like now, and he compliments. You know, he says that his facial hair is back, and he's like, "Damn! Like, look at me. He can smell the Undercity." He's like, "Oh my god! Like, this is probably the worst upgrade I could have gotten." And as he's walking, after he gets his new gear on, he's walking outside, he looks over and he sees some new Forsaken recruits hacking apart living Alliance soldiers. So they use Alliance soldiers as training dummies in the Undercity. And he's kind of like, he looks at them and it says, Nathanos felt something that he hadn't felt in a long time. Paraphrasing here, Nathanos felt guilt. So the guilt first showed at the end of the Nathanos short story. Then we have Before the Storm, where he screams at her. By the way, spoilers, if you haven't read Before the Storm, you have 5 seconds to mute me right now.
Read it right now.
5.
Shut it down. Close it.
At the end of the story, when Sylvanas open fires on the entire Desolate Council, both those running to the Alliance and those loyal and returning to her, he's like, what are you doing? Like, I think the quote is, "What are you doing, my queen?" in caps. Jack and I have like this meme where it's Nathanos, "What are you doing?" Blight caller kind of thing. And
I want a t-shirt. That's it.
Literally Nathanos, like, or we'll use like a Twitch emoji. Which Twitch emoji should we have for like Nathanos getting all triggered?
By the way, speaking of Twitch,
PogChat Nathanos?
Zelia brings up a great thing. Sure, that works.
Nathanos. Sorry. Zelia, go ahead.
From Il'gynoth.
Potential off topic.
I want to read it.
Do you want to read it or want me to?
Potentially off topic, but Il'gynoth whispered, quote, "In the hour of her third death, she will usher us in," or something to that effect. Sylvanas? I'm still quoting him. Even though she already technically died 3 times, or maybe Kalia? I think Sylvanas or Kalia are great candidates. You could also make a looser argument for Azshara. How many times has she been reborn as a new thing? Some people say Jaina. I don't really see any actual intense rebirth happening for her. Just awesome psychological character rebirth that we see in a great hero's story. But I'd probably go. My leanings towards Sylvanas, but old gods tend to mislead us in these quotes. So Kelly is also a possibility. Could be Azshara. It could also be a red herring. Though, sometimes the old god stuff does end up being a little bit true. I think these things are intended to madden us as players. They're kind of like a meta old god reaching out into your mind. So kind of savor that. Theorize, but also realize that that's the nature of the old gods, to madden. They are shadow creatures. They are of the void. Sometimes whispers are true. Sometimes they're not. How can you tell? Some
people think it's Illyria, and they brought this up in the comments. I think the Illyria example is a blatant misdirect, because she says you can't do it anymore, but in between 7.3.5 and 8.0, if you went to the front of Stormwind where the Illyria statue is, you could talk to her in Terralian, and it triggered a voice acted conversation where she says to Terralian, "I feel like I've died twice. Once in Outland when it exploded, and once when I succumbed to the Naru," or whatever. And the fact that she says, I feel like I've died twice, to me is literally someone going, let's fuck with players.
And she's a void bitch.
She's a void. So I don't think, I think that's intentionally a misdirect. Blizzard is like, let's just stir the pot and add someone else to the equation, and let's have Illyria literally say, I've died twice.
Ooh. No, I think it's Illyria, honestly.
To me, the fact that they went in and put in...
She says it so deliberately,
It's kind of like, it's almost like, it can't be her, because she literally says... this quote about an old god really fits me well, and it almost seems like it's too obvious, but maybe Blizzard's going to do that. We're not going to suspect it, and then bam, it's actually her.
The next time we have a podcast or a reaction video, like, I'm just going to have like a cork board with old god shit all over it and red strings. You know what I'm talking about.
You're going to have this look, that meme of me in the Discord. Someone else said it could be Azeroth. Azeroth has died twice now. The Sundering ripped a... okay, so you could argue...
Yeah, the Sundering. When Yasharaj was ripped.
Yeah, you could argue 3 deaths so far with Azeroth. Yasharaj being ripped out, which was bad. The Sundering, which destroyed the planet. And the Cataclysm. So... I don't know, maybe...
And the Stabby.
And now the 4th. So there's like 4 deaths at this point. She's already... Old gods can't count. So I'm wondering, Sundering, Shattering, and the Stabbing. So, but it could be Azeroth. I think Azeroth had a couple too many deaths, but maybe they don't count. What 2 deaths could we discredit? We could discredit...
I love that there's theorizing in the chat.
There's a lot of theorizing. If we were to discredit 2 out of the 4 incidents on Azeroth, what would you discredit as a death?
I would discredit Sylvanas. She's actually died 3 times.
No, like specifically Azeroth's events. So like the Yasharaj, the Sundering, the Cataclysm, and now the Stabbing. What 2 wouldn't you count as a death? Because at this point, we're just taking everything as a death. Oh well,
maybe the Cataclysm.
I guess so. Yeah. And then the big sword. She's dying.
Check is a fraud.
Check is a fraud. Fake. It's possible. I definitely think Azeroth is a candidate. There's a little bit of questions there. Sylvanas literally has died 3 times. Stabbed by Arthas, splattered on Ice Crown,
already
and
mentioned.
got a gun.
Arthas,
shotgun to the back of the head.
The suicide, and shot in the back of the head.
And a lot of people forget that. Like, she died in Silvermoon. People are like, oh, she didn't die. No, like, Godfrey put a hole in the back of her head.
It was just point blank. She got shot in the back of the head, and a Valkyrie had to res her. It was death. It was literal death.
I don't think it's Illyria. I think Illyria's already going down that path, but I don't think it's Illyria. I think it's too.
I think it's Illyria.
It's too blatant. I think it's.
I disagree.
Too blatant. No. Jaina.
Sometimes blatant is
maybe.
It's only blatant if you read the brief quest, like not the quest, the dialogue thing, and remembered that line, and then connected it to Il'gynoth. That's not like.
I guess to me, why it's so obvious is she's like, I feel like I've died twice, and like we're all figuring out who's died 3 times, and now we're like, oh no, like she has one more life kind of thing. So I think that.
But only the nerds are talking about this.
Maybe.
And the secret finding Discord, pulling that in. A bunch of secrets are about to go live. Secret finding Discord's amazing. Derailing onto something in the notes. I'm just giving a shout out to the secret finding Discord and Warcraft Mysteries. Like, it's really fun to be part of a secret hunt. If you guys love this lore, when the next secret is found, go join them. We might leak the Discords, or like if you ask in our Discord, I'll share it with you. But it's a lot of fun. I helped with the anagram last time, combining localizations, which took like 48 hours, and I didn't sleep at all. And if you want to do that, join these bitches. Because get the Hive Mind mount. That's totally going to be a secret.
What was the first mount in Legion? Oh, the tentacle guy. The Kosum when they were looking for the mount, but they accidentally summoned Kosumoth. You know you know how you had to click the.
I was so burnt out by that point after the Lucid Nightmare.
No, this was before. This was literally Legion's. That was before Legion's launch. The launch secret.
Oh, I wasn't playing.
Oh, so I joined for that Discord, and it was really cool to see how much they were just digging in, and like the amount of people who are getting.
If you like being called wrong by 1,000 people in voice chat, join the secret Discord.
Oh, you joined the voice chat too?
I did, because when I figured out a part of the localization, I was like, I need to tell everybody, and then they were like, you're fucking wrong, it's not even an anagram, and it ended up being an anagram, and the thing I said was right. So fuck all of you. I talked to real Koreans
as opposed to fake Koreans,
like Google Translate. You know?
So join their Discord. There's a whole bunch of mounts that we don't really know. The Hive Mind, the ghost jellyfish mount. What we know from that mount is the more people who are in your Hive Mind, the faster you go. I don't really know how that works. I don't know if your Hive Mind counts as your party or your
work?
Raid, but that's kind of cool. It's kind of cool. So we have. I was gonna go off on a rant, and then you tackled your headset jack and interrupted me. So I'm gonna go back to my rant here. Many of you who are familiar with the Lost Codex. Like Jack was one of the newest additions as a Decoded host, as a Lost Codex artist. We keep saying Lost Codex. What does that mean? What does Lost Codex artist mean? You'll see soon.
You'll find out.
Jeff and I we've been doing this for 2 years, and our channel started with these lore, with these interactive storytelling, these immersive form of telling lore, as if we're in Azeroth. And that's always been the fun of making videos for the Lost Codex. And then I realized, we're growing at a little bit of a slow pace. So how can we expand on that? And I thought, well, why don't we introduce a podcast? And now anyone who's watched our videos knows that we used to only post 3 to 4 times a month. Once every 3 to 4 weeks, sorry. So it took 3.5, sometimes 4 weeks to make a single 7 to 12 minute long video because of all the visuals that go into it. Jeff is one guy. Jeff is mortal, and he does amazing work, but he works 9 to 5. I work 9 to 5. So it takes time to make these videos. I'm going off on a tangent here because there's a lot of these comments in the video. So please, they're probably not going to listen to this. Those people who leave these comments. But they're listening. They better be. We used to post once every 3 to 4 weeks. And the Lost Codex notification, I had a lot of people telling me it was so exciting for them to see a Lost Codex notification because we don't post often, so it was a nice treat. Then we start making a podcast once a week, so that notification starts going, and bam, once a week. And people started getting upset that once a week was popping up, but it wasn't the content they wanted. And I had someone write the other day, you've abandoned your old cool lore videos, the thing that gave your channel charm, in favor of these... I want to say basic bitch videos. He said something basic or basic YouTuber bitch video or something like that. Podcast and reaction videos basically dropping our quality. And I said, hold on there, Charlie. We still post our lore video every 3 to 4 weeks. But now once a week, sometimes twice a week, we post other content as well. So it's just like bonus. You're still getting the same meal you were getting, but now you're getting samplers. So yeah, without going into detail, Wowhead has been extremely gracious with posting our videos. They posted our Antorus video. Perculia Zillions, my brand manager, reached out and said, hey, could you help promote the video, retweet? And she said, yeah, cool. And I was like, that's amazing. Retweet is awesome. And then Perculia writes this whole article about the Lost Codex and our YouTube jail time and how Sargeras kicked us off YouTube and all this stuff. And I was like, whoa, Perk, that's amazing. Bellular has used, thank you, Wowhead and Perk. Bellular has he messaged me last October. He's like, can I use 30 seconds of this video, of one of your videos? I said, go for it. He gave us a shout out and we went up 4,000 subscribers. From literally, oh, by the way, go check out the Lost Codex. Our sub count just went whoop. Who else have we reached out to? Nobble. Nobble's a huge fan of us. Nobble, every now and then, Nobble will host one of our streams or give us a shout out. People come in and say, "No, yo, Nobble sent me." Taliesin and Evitil. Oh, bye, Jack. You dropped the camera, Jack. Anyway, Lady Velvet, it has been an ongoing, I don't want to use the word struggle, project of mine to reach out with people. We are on many people's radar. Blizzard themselves flew me out to campus, their Blizzard headquarters last year, because they have their eyes on. And, they gave me a media pass last BlizzCon to interview Alex Afrasiabi, one of the top dudes on the Warcraft team. So we have a lot of these opportunities, but we're kind of just camera off. We got Nagato Bro. Hey guys, rarely catching. Am I? I heard of you via Nobble. See, I'm a huge lore nut and absolutely love your videos. Thank you, Nagato Bro. Thank you. And honestly, you don't catch us streaming because we never stream, and we're gonna be fixing that. We're gonna be changing that because there's Stannis. Hello, Stannis. Why would you change your name, Stannis? I'm so used to. With Style Petite is who I'm talking to. Stannis. That is King Stannis. I'm Team Jesse. Boo, you're not Team Jesse. You're just not Team Jack. You're anyone but Jack. This it's not even a podcast anymore. This is just a rant. But
it is. I
think going back. Who we going back to? Stop derailing. Lady Velvet's comments about reaching out. We are constantly doing that, and I always tell people just word of mouth. Tell people this about us. But so we're growing. It's a process. It's an ongoing process. Love your Discord. Super friendly and welcoming. Lady Velvet, I appreciate that because it's frustrating to and I know we always everyone gets these comments. And so you're back. Hello. How do I do the thing? There you are. So when we get these comments people are telling us that we're wasting our time with the podcast and that no one likes the reaction video. Some guy said, no one cares about your reaction videos. And I wanted to say, the 26,000 views we have on the reaction videos compared to the 3,000 views we have on our lore video says otherwise. Unfortunately, I would love 26,000 views on our lore video. It doesn't happen. Why? I don't know. I can imagine. So yeah, that was a really long rant. I care about the reaction videos. And that's what I was saying. I was like, he's like, no one cares about them. And I'm like, pretty sure a lot of people care about them. So let's move on to, at this point, this is a ramble podcast. We got a lot of comments here. Nagata Bro says, in terms of BFA lore, what are you most excited to see brought to life in game during this expansion? Jack, what are you most excited for Battle for Azeroth?
If we don't see Kalia in this expansion, I'm going to shit in a bag, set it on fire, and throw it at Irvine, which is close. Seriously though, I'm really excited to see if she'll show up because she was featured in Before the Storm and because all those amazing things happened. I know I sound like a broken record talking about it, but I think that she could end up being another cool character. I know that right now she's kind of has a, I don't want to say basic. I want to say like a very straightforward setup narratively, and I think we can trust Blizzard to make that more complex and interesting. If they follow through on the type of storytelling they did with Jaina. Speaking of Jaina, I'm super excited about her. Oh my god, I'm excited about that boat. I want to be on that boat. We're going to be on that boat. It's going to fly.
Like less than 24 hours, we're going to be on that boat tomorrow.
We're going to be on that boat. I have to wait until my husband is home. I promised him.
Whose boat? Kalia was so hyped. And honestly, anyone who hasn't listened to Jack and I's podcast about Kalia Menethil,
it's episode 9.
Episode 9. It's right after my review. Watch my review, and then watch Jack and I talk about Kalia Menethil.
You don't need the review. Just listen to episode 9 and consider the review.
8, and then don't listen to 9. But Jack and I, years ago, when the Cataclysm story was happening and Sylvanas was nuking Gilneas and everyone in her path, we talked about like, all right, they're going down a dark path here. Who's going to replace her? And we thought,
I still think.
Go ahead.
Sorry. I still think that Sylvanas can be redeemed. I've talked about this in the Discord. I think that she is redeemable. This is controversial.
Redeemable how?
She still feels. So somebody actually brought up the three lies portion of the comics, which people have mixed feelings about as like a part of the comment. But she gives 3 lies. One of them is, and I'm paraphrasing here, I'm proud to be war chief. The other one is, I will never betray my sisters. The third one is,
I miss life.
I miss being alive. And only 2 of them are supposed to be correct. In the book and in other situations, we see that she actually isn't super cool with being war chief. So that means the other 2 are true. She will never betray her sisters, and she misses being alive. And we see that in other cases. She actually really has this feeling of, I want to be alive. She actually still does miss those things. That's why she resurrected Nathanos and made him who she is, made him her lieutenant. And you see her struggling with this contempt for life and this fear of death. But and within that, you find this possibility where if she can face that and overcome it, will she be redeemed? I didn't mean to use that word, but will she be not quite what she is now? There's still hope. I know that that's not going to absolve her of her crimes, but it may prevent her from going down the path that Arthas went down fully and becoming the next Lich Queen. Or it may be a tragic story of where she actually does go down those paths. She goes right over the opportunities for redemption, and it's just like Arthas. Arthas had a lot of opportunities to turn away, and he didn't.
What I don't want Blizzard to do is, I know that Sylvanas is this beloved, amazingly complex character for many years, and I don't want them to save her or write her story in a way just to appease that storyline. Give her the storyline she deserves. If it is poetic justice that she goes down that path, fine. But if it turns out that, and this is not anything that you said, Jack, but that she is redeemed for whatever, and Anduin's like, you know what, I'll give you another chance. And it's like, how many Alliance countries have been destroyed by Sylvanas herself? How many people?
I mean, you have a theory on this in this regard, like if Sylvanas did become redeemed or step down early on. You had the theory. I mean, you're the one who said, or do you want me to recount it?
Because I can't remember.
Okay, so Jesse, I thought it was you, Jesse, who had said if Sylvanas does go through a redemption thing, is maybe faced with Kalia, who gives her an infusion of the light, or Nathanos approaches her, or she has some other moment with the Valkyria, her sisters, or whatever. Let's say that happens. She decides not to turn the whole world undead. She has some kind of revelation, some kind of moment, some kind of really powerful personal turning point, and decides, I actually don't want to continue down this path. What if Anduin goes, yeah, that's cute. We're going to keep going. The Alliance is going to keep going. We're going to continue on our war march, even though Sylvanas has stepped down as war chief, even though she's living in exile.
Yes, this okay. I was talking like specifically Sylvanas' storyline of would the Alliance take... So to build off of that, my idea was if Sylvanas is dealt with, whether she's killed, kicked out, thrown into space, whatever,
she'll be dealt with somehow.
This is people want the Alliance to do something that's a little bit questionable. So how shocking would it be is if Anduin shows up and Saurfang and Bane are like, yo, by the way, like Sylvanas is gone, we cool, right? And Anduin's like, no, we're not cool. And the Alliance keeps pushing against the Horde. And suddenly it's like, Sylvanas has been the problem for the Horde, but now the Alliance, not the Alliance is the aggressors, but Locker in the Alliance Pride in. Good God. How would Bolvar react if Sylvanas stepped into Sylvanas stepped into his space acting like the Lich Queen? Ooh. Bolvar.
Sylvanas can take Bolvar. I mean, he has got
helm.
He does have the
fire.
Of damnation.
He's fire spect, so
he's pretty toasty, but Sylvanas would like that, wouldn't she?
Velen's short story hinted at Wrath of the Lich King 2.
It kind of did, didn't it?
Yeah. I think that's happening eventually. I don't think Bolvar is going to be a major feature in this expansion. Neither
do I.
We do see a Death Knight in Kulturas, and he does acknowledge the Death Knight player as the Death Lord, but it's so far there's not a whole lot. He says one of the visions he has of a potential future shows a new Lich King. I mean, we know there is a new Lich King.
They did predict the Army of the Light. That short story.
So and he's active, or he's partially active at least.
He's doing shit.
Without Frostmourne to the Lich King's power, is the Lich King's power even comparable though? I would say that Frostmourne was just a single element of the Lich King. I think the Helm of Damnation.
Would you?
Specifically the Helm of Damnation and the power. Chronicle 3 really sells it on how much power Ner'zhul had because of the Nathrezim. It was the Nathrezim who ripped Ner'zhul apart and infused so much of Ner'zhul with this necromantic dark energy that's why he was able to stand alone, stand on his own two feet. Ner'zhul only had 2 toes, by the way. And
in this case, you're saying Alexstrasza infused Bolvar inadvertently with a similar amount of energy,
I think Ner'zhul's still there in a way. The helm is still active, and now we've got people like Alexstrasza. We've got Bolvar's connection to the light. What different parts of this is nothing to do with Battle for Azeroth. This is a ramble. I don't think that without the shards of Frostmourne, that Bolvar is powerless. I think that maybe he'll reforge a new weapon. Maybe I'm not too sure. He has the Scourge at his disposal, so I'm.
Will the Cult of the Damned come back? Will Kel'Thuzad and the living
Kel'Thuzad's
of the Scourge
earn his phylactery, whatever? It wasn't. We didn't destroy it in Wrath. We made the mistake of not destroying it in vanilla, and then the one thing we were supposed to do in Wrath, we're like, no, just leave it. This time it'll be okay.
I think it's too much to have N'Zoth and the faction war and Ashara in an expansion, and then also Bolvar and Sylvanas like doing some kind of Lich King Queen skirmish. I'd say it has to be at least the next expansion or the one after that.
You think Sylvanas will go into exile and maybe go after Bolvar, kind of on this?
I mean, as I said at the very beginning, that's the part of the fun here is that I actually don't know. I actually really have no idea how this is gonna play out. I don't think that the Sylvanas situation is tenable through the entire expansion without something happening.
I think her storyline is going to peak here. There's either going to be the death moment, the remove from War Chief, or something happens that she goes off screen, kind of like an Illidan right now. Illidan is off screen, Khadgar is off screen, but they're not dead.
I could see her becoming like a rogue agent, like Illidan.
What would her purpose be? Because Illidan at least was doing something useful.
Depends on the nature of
deposing, I guess.
The way that she overcomes this flaw, yeah. The way that she faces her death, because she's gonna have to face it eventually, right? That's what she's afraid of. We've gone into this several times in her character analysis that her primary fear is her own death because of the hell that awaits her afterwards. Read Dave Kozak's Edge of Night. That's the primer, and I think she's gonna have to face that eventually. And when she does, that's when we'll have our answer, and it'll be the manner in which she reacts to it, and it'll go from there.
Stannis says, "Give Jesse the Sylvanas kill." I don't want Sylvanas to die. People, you're a Sylvanas hater. I'm not a Sylvanas hater. I still love her. I'm curious to see. I want her story to actually have meaning. I want her story to actually be, fulfilling. I don't want her just to be ripped in half without a build up to it. I want, and this has been one hell of a build up in the prologue. Like we haven't even. I'm trying not to read the comments, and it's just derailing me. This was a mistake to ever live stream. There's poor people listening on YouTube. It's going to be like 10 minutes long on YouTube because we go off on too many inappropriate tangents.
It's just going to be, hello, welcome to Lost Codex. Piss, we're done.
Literally. Just accept us. No, I can't.
This is actually how it is in the background, though.
Oh yeah, when Jack and I record live, there's a lot that I have to edit out because we say things and he's just like just cut that out. Let's not say that. And we thought about doing like a little bit of a completely uncut version, but this is why we can't do it. Just let it happen. We're letting it happen. Okay, so how many people would we have here? 30 viewers. Guys, this is it. We're going uphill. Our average viewer count is like 12, so this is really cool to see all these people here. I'm looking at the people who are in chat here. I want to talk about some of the interviews that happened in preparation for Battle for Azeroth launch, and I just saw some interesting little blurbs there. You can listen to the interviews and read the interviews on the appropriate websites, but MMO Champion has a bullet form list, and I think Wildhead does too. The first interview is with Gary Plattner and Taryn Gregory, and we have one of the comments here says Garrosh Hellscream. So I'm going to read some comments here from the interview, and a lot of this was about the pre-patch stuff, and they were talking about community engagement and how community's responses really impact the story. And Garrosh Hellscream was the first example of a character that saw the full arc of his storyline through expansions, from BC to Warlords. And community engagement shifted that narrative as well. And I'm really curious how much of an impact the community's voice will impact specifically Sylvanas and the future of the Horde, because I want to say before Battle for Azeroth, it was just a mindless circle jerk for Sylvanas.
I was part of it.
But you liked her for good reasons. I said to you, Jack, why do you like Sylvanas? It was and you said, sit down for 3 hours. I'm going to tell you why. And you told me why.
That's true.
Other people, why do you like Sylvanas? Well, she's cool, man. Like she's just really cool. And then she burns down Teldrassil. People are like, oh my god, no, this is not Sylvanas. And I'm like, yes, it is. This is exactly what she would do.
Yes,
Like,
it is.
this is literally 100% her character. And I had people who were like genuinely huge Sylvanas fanboys and girls, specifically on Twitter, and I kept seeing like, this is not the Sylvanas I know. And I'm sitting here going, what's the Sylvanas that you know? Did you just know the Sylvanas who's on like the cover of posters and that's it, or did you actually play her storyline in Cataclysm when she's responsible for the deaths of thousands of Gilneans and Lord Irinians and so many other people? Like, at which point did she go out of character? So I'm really curious now. The divide on Sylvanas is pretty substantial for the Horde and Alliance. The Starfang people, like the Starfang supporters and the Sylvanas supporters. So I'm really curious what this split is going to be.
My impression of the divergence in the Sylvanas, I don't want to call them fanboys, but the people who, especially because a lot of them are girls, the people who there are people who've been following Sylvanas across all of the media, through Warcraft 3, through the short stories in the books, cinematics, and all the quest lines. And there are the people who are getting like kind of a rough impression of her. And I think those people are seeing two different Sylvanases, because the people who are seeing all of the media, they're getting a more in-depth view of her trauma, her motivations, and even that is kind of suggestive. Whereas the people who are getting an impression are just kind of getting this badass master manipulator thing without that depth. So that's where the dissonance comes in, if I'm fair. And I could totally go into the arguments that I've made several times in regard to Sylvanas' motivations, but maybe for another podcast. This has been quite the ramble, and we are an hour in. I would like to get through the interview, honestly, especially in prep for the patch. Not the patch, but the unlocking of BFA.
Because we're talking about comments here, Jack. We're talking about Callia's child. And
C plus B equals T?
Mm-hmm. Should we talk about it?
Bolvar's her dad.
Confirmed. It's not. And
no, not Callia's dad.
Bolvar is Taranis. That's the big theory, that Bolvar is actually Taranis Menethil. Fuck.
Surprise.
The theory is
J. is like,
Bolvar is Callia's husband, and I really
should I get the quotes? Where's my Kindle? Listen to episode 9.
I was gonna say, listen to episode 9. We have visuals. Jeff made visuals for episode 9.
I hate to be like this, but
the theory actually lines up pretty well. I don't want to go off into too much detail. Let's wait until Battle for Azeroth's out a little bit longer, and then we can talk about it. It's not spoiler; it's a big theory. And when you say, "Oh yeah," I've heard people say, "Yeah, I heard Bolvar is Callia's husband," and there's not a lot of water to hold. And you're right. When you just look at it like that, you're kind of like, "There's a lot of plot holes," but there's a lot of plot holes you could fill really easily. Phil, shout out to you. Where it's not incredibly impossible to think it's Bolvar. I really want to talk about it, but let's not.
There have been more tenuous connections in Warcraft that ended up being true.
So I guess someone's asking here. But she had high respect from her parents because her husband was common. The 4 dragons were higher up family in Stormwind. Wouldn't he have been an awesome husband for her? So here's my theory: is what if the 4 dragons weren't high up family? Because
they were later.
They were later. We know that Lady Mara 4-Dragon, who we have no idea what her connection to Bolvar is, in this...
She sounds pretty basic.
To me, she's a Maul. Not confirmed. That's what I'm guessing. You go to the Paladin class hall, you see Lady Mara's statue. And she helped with she was called the High Clerist of Stormwind. So I don't think she was a Paladin at the time. Paladins didn't exist until the Second War anyway. She helped the refugees flee from Stormwind during the First War against the Orcish Horde. What if she was given a a title or a ranking of nobility for her deed. She was High Clerist for Dragon, and she became Lady Mara for Dragon because she decided to put on armor and charge into battle. So she's up in Lordaeron. And she has a son during the Second War. Remember, this is all headcanon. And Bolvar is born. Bolvar is raised and trained how to be a soldier, and Bolvar is trained to be a soldier, but if her ranking was military, would he be higher up? Kalia said that she married a footman. Bolvar, does Bolvar's hierarchy depend on his mother? Like, if it's a military status? My thoughts are really scrambled right now because I wasn't prepared for this theory to talk about it. Episode 9 goes into a lot of detail. Anyway, the idea is that
This needs notes.
Bolvar comes back to Stormwind after him and Kalia separate with baby T, and he says to Varian, two things. My mom was Lady Mara, total Banff of the First War, and I'm also married to Kalia Menethil, so that's kind of a thing. And that's the reason why Bolvar kind of becomes a knight and then the Regent Lord so fast. Varian's like, oh my god. Taranis was my bro. Taranis was like a dad to me because, the First War happened. Arthas was like a brother. So I knew Kalia.
Oh, Taranis, no trouble.
And it's very easy to assume that Varian would want to keep it secret, but also want to give Bolvar not the rank he deserves, but the appropriateness of his position, title, whatever.
Trying to help him support a claim to nobility.
Without declaring to the world Kalia Menethil's alive.
Because it's supposed to be
or not Kalia, but Kalia's daughter. And then Bolvar sends
I agree with
Kalia's daughter off. There's like, this is some Game of Thrones like level.
I agree, yeah.
When I told Jack this,
up.
I told Jack, I said, do you know anything about this theory? He's like, no. And I went into detail, and Jack's reaction, he was like, oh my god, like, this is potentially Ned Stark level. Or it's way off.
I'm not fully sold on this, by the way, but we'll see.
Same.
I need
more
info.
Like, as someone who loves the theory,
we talk about it, but
I encourage people. I encourage people to poke holes into it, and one of the holes
like
is
I did my eye.
How did poke holes into the theory like Jack's eye? If Kalia has been around for a long time, how did she not hear about Bolvar, the Regent Lord of Stormwind? But that was common knowledge. Why did she not hear about that? So there are some holes to the theory. I think that the fact that Kalia's husband and daughter's fate were left unsaid, and then in Battle for Azeroth we meet a character who's Bolvar's kid. To me, who's, by the way, this kid, without saying names, the names have already been said, this kid in Kultiras says her dad is Bolvar and her mom died in Lordaeron. So, to me, I don't know. I think that it's possible.
Communication, I think it's valid to point out that communication doesn't flow as readily in Azeroth as we think as players who have perfect meta knowledge. There's a post system that works between the major cities, but we don't know where Kalia was. We don't know if she was still hanging out in Lordaeron, which would definitely be a very decimated place that probably doesn't get a lot of information. We don't know what alliances would share with her, right? In the books, you do get this impression that portals, divination, like a scrying technique, talking long distance with magic, hearthstones, the post, are actually a little more sparse than we see in the game. So she may actually not have heard of Bolvar being alive, or if the daughter is who the theory suggests that she may not have heard that Kalia is alive, especially because the Kalia thing is so very few people were around for all the events regarding her.
And it's important to know that this daughter in Kultiras, in Battle for Azeroth, this is canon, she refers to her dad as a Knight of Stormwind. She doesn't say my dad was the Regent Lord. She says my dad was a Knight of Stormwind. Now, there's two possible theories. She's being humble, and she doesn't want to say, yo, my dad was the ruler of Stormwind. She's kind of just saying, yeah, he was a knight. And then saying, oh, your dad's Bolvar. She's like, fuck, now you figured it out. Or she didn't know her dad was the Regent Lord. Because if she did, she would know the Regent Lord went to Northrend. The Regent Lord led the forces of the Alliance up there, died at the Wrathgate, but she doesn't know anything about that. So that's the theory. Go back and watch episode 9. Go to about 50 minutes in, and you hear me talking to Jack, and there's pictures, there's visuals. Jeff made visuals for it, and I explain it flawlessly. This is really broken. This is a mess. So yes, Bolvar is her dad's boat. That's confirmed. Going back to the through the interviews here, the team kind of preemptively knew that Old Soldier, the Sarfang cinematic, was going to really resonate with players who didn't feel like the Horde was being properly represented, and that's why a lot of this love for Sarfang, like Sarfang was already a loved meme character, like a little bit of a Chuck Norris, but ever since Old Soldier, the love for Sarfang, like if you look at a graph, I'm sure the graph just went like so the team says that they knew that this would happen, and I'm kind of curious, like were they trying to feed that factional hostilities with Warbringers and Old Soldier?
Totally.
And it backfired into just a Horde versus Horde war? Like it was, the Alliance just kind of sat there, like just drinking their tea as Horde players ripped each other apart on the forums. And it was interesting to watch. What do you think?
I think that there is an intentional, they want people to feel conflict here. They want people to feel conflict within the Horde, especially. The Horde, I've made this point actually over the course of several years. I used to talk a lot on the forums on WoW, and I'd make this case all the time that the Horde's primary narrative drive is conflict, is like dysfunctional family conflict. That these races have no reason to get along separately, but they get along together out of necessity because they are kind of a family. They're brought together by various war chiefs, and they have to deal with their own survival. So like you get cases of like trolls and elves who should hate each other still after all the fighting they've done. I know the Dark Spear did nothing wrong, but still, regardless of that, they shouldn't be as buddy as they are. You know, you get the Forsaken being accepted as a race at all thanks to the Tauren, because the Tauren have a very peaceful redemptionist view of people in general. You have people who should have tensions being forced to work together, and that has been a Horde driver for a long time. So whenever faction shit starts boiling, it makes sense that those tensions within that particular faction boil over. And then they come together, and they're stronger because they come together. That's how a dysfunctional family works. Whereas the Alliance is typically very unified. They always perform on a unified front. They tend to fall in behind their leader, who is usually human. And you get a lot of wisdom from the older races, like the Night Elves and the Draenei. And that's how the story's been for like a decade at this point.
It's interesting to say, because I know a lot of Horde players, they want the conflict within the Alliance, and part of me is kind of like,
would they still be the Alliance?
Like, that's the thing,
if there was that conflict?
And we're going to bring back the pre-patch here. This is where the strategy for the pre-patch was, or for Sylvanas' conquering of Darnassus. This is what was so a summary of the beginning of the Horde novella. Sarfang and Sylvanas. Sylvanas says, if I were to ask you to invade Stormwind, would you? And Sarfang's like, it's not really possible. And it's important to know that they make a point of noting that the fleets are destroyed. That's the whole point of Battle for Azeroth, Galtiris, and Zandalar. The Alliance fleet and the Horde fleet suffered horribly against the Legion. So Sarfang says, we can't ship forces and supplies and weapons over to Stormwind, invade it, and succeed. Then he figures out, but we don't need to do that for Darnassus. Darnassus is landlocked, right? So the theory, the strategy is, take Darnassus. The Alliance is going to retaliate. The Alliance is going to turn and attack Undercity, in which Sylvanas then says, no, I have the entire city of civilians, of the Darnassus people, hostage. You attack my people, you attack Undercity, and I kill them all. And no one's going to call Sylvanas on her bluff ever. So suddenly the Alliance is like, oh, okay. But Saurfang says, the Alliance is still going to want to save the Night Elves. They're going to suddenly not attack Undercity, but they're going to make a move to save the Night Elves. To which then Gen Greymane is going to say, whoa, we lost our home years ago. You're not going to help us. Anduin says, well, I guess we will help Gen. The Night Elves say, well, what about us? Cause conflict within the Alliance. The Alliance breaks down. The Horde keeps Kalimdor, keeps Northern Eastern Kingdoms. It's actually a really brilliant strategy. What Anduin realizes this is the strategy. Anduin realizes that she has him by the balls. To which Gen Greymane looks at him and says, I beg your pardon, but do you think I'm going to go anywhere? You think I'm going to ditch the Alliance if you go to save Teldrassil before Gilneas? You really think I'm going to leave? And Anduin's like, and Gen almost gets mad at Anduin and says, after the people of Darnassus saved our asses in Gilneas, took my people in, gave them a home, helped cured the Worgen feralness, you think I'm going to leave because you helped them first? This is where Sylvanas is wrong. This is what makes us different than the Horde. And I read that going, thinking like, this is it. The Alliance isn't a bunch of drama queens. The Alliance isn't going to go, well, you help them first, blah, blah, blah. Gen Greymane is gun-ho to help Teldrassil. He wants his home back, but he's not going to sulk off. And I feel Gen Greymane gets shit on a lot because of who he was in the original Alliance. He's actually had a really cool arc where he's this
he's
cocky,
another person who's had
character.
Transformation.
Literally and like story-wise.
A lot in Before the Storm too.
Like a lot. And like when he's introduced,
I read one book and I'm like, read it.
It's amazing. In Wolfheart, Varian is pretty much like Gen's like, hey, no hard feelings, right? And Varian's like Varian's not cool with Gen. He's like, you're a dick. You left the Alliance. Screw you and your mother. At the end of the book, there's kind of a building trust between Varian and Gen, and that's where we see Gen and Varian become friends and then trust each other, and that's where Gen's story kind of starts to take off. Varian dies, and Greymane's story with Anduin has been so important. And that's another part. Lady Velvet says here, Mia Greymane in the novella is beloved by the Kaldori. They say Greymane's respected, but Mia is this. They love Mia. She is the queen of another nation. She was saved, and the people. She goes to Darnassus to help calm the citizens. And Gen's like, don't go there. And she's like, no. Mia is beloved by the people of Darnassus, and Greymane and her are like equally stubborn. And I just think it's so. I think it's so interesting to see this conflict. The Horde is falling apart, while the Alliance is stronger than ever. Their arms are linked, arm in arm. The Night Elves, there's a really horrifying thought at the end of the novella where Tyrande says, there are pockets of other Night Elves around the world, but most of them are in Stormwind. And most of the elves that are around, like the Teldrassil population, the population of Night Elves in the Alliance just went like dramatically, and she's kind of like, oh fuck. And it's really this thought of, this is blatant genocide. Soul Tank. And it's interesting to see. And I don't think the Alliance needs this conflict, because that's if it comes up naturally, sure. But just because the Horde's always fighting doesn't mean the Alliance needs to start fighting. That's the gist of it. I don't think people think X happened to one faction, so that means X has to happen to Y faction. No, different things occur on different sides. Jack, you really want to talk?
That's why it's compelling. That's why that's why the faction conflict is interesting, because the two factions are very, very different. However, I do get that people still want to see conflict within the Alliance faction, because that conflict is interesting, and you do see that conflict. You see Gen rub up against Anduin, especially, and you've brought this up several times over the course of Gen's transformation. Like, Gen wants Anduin to be a certain thing. Anduin is his own thing, and Gen eventually has to learn to live with that and allow that. And I've said before that the story of the Alliance and the Alliance's characters is of people who are presented with flaws and they overcome those flaws. The Horde is people who are presented with flaws and they embrace them. They make it part of who they are, for the most part. I do think that if you look at the Horde, and I might get some shit for this, the Horde is more nuanced in their stories. They have more variance in the way that they handle conflict and are presented with it, whereas the Alliance tends to be more unified and consistent. Which is why I've always found the Horde interesting. Why I found the Forsaken interesting, especially. You have people who are like literally the Forsaken blighting the Alliance as they're sieging on not Orgrimmar, the Undercity. And then you also have the people forming the Desolate Council and saying, hey, I want to use my human name from life, and I miss my husband. And that's interesting. You don't see that kind of split in humanity, really, because humanity presents a unified front. But then, a Night Elf is racist sometimes, and you get Alliance players who are like, oh, I want to see conflict, but when conflict is presented, sometimes you guys are a little uncomfortable with it. Night Elves can be racist. They can be a little savage, and people want that to be glossed over and just see the happy Elune shit. But there is grit there. There is a grit to the Night Elf society. There's a grit to the way humans have acted over the course of history. With the introduction of Void Elves, now you've got like some crazy shit. There's them
Dark Irons are coming.
Dark Irons,
Literally
Warlocks.
Summoned Ragnaros twice.
This conflict. Yeah, this conflict is here if you look for it. At the surface level, yeah, they're unified. But if you dig deep, the further you go into the layers, there's conflict there too. There's nuance, just like the Horde. It may not be as readily available, but it's there.
I think that
it's a bit of a rant. I'm sorry.
No, it was a good rant. The people of Culture Ass are going to be this old school alliance that we haven't seen in a while. I
love them.
Dalen, Garithos, this real aggressive, hateful human nation is rejoining the alliance. And sure, Jaina is also really aggressive, and I'm sure Catherine is a little bit more moderate, but we're going to have a lot of officers and people of Culture Ass who are so old-minded about the Horde. Like they haven't seen Thrall. They haven't seen the good that the Horde can do. And then when they hear that they just set a tree with 1 million children inside on fire, the people of Culture Ass are going to say,
"What's that the number?"
I don't know. It was an It was
they collected all the children in the middle and
just one big awful.
Burn it.
It's interesting, and I'm excited to see this sort of darker, this hateful side return to the Alliance. And when Anduin says,
I call it vindictive.
Yes, because Varian made a promise.
Not to nitpick, but
what about that angry Sky Emerald lady from South Shore? She's hate-filled. Could get in trouble. Good. Lady Catherine Rogers, Spillander. She is in battle. She is in Before the Storm, and I want to see Jaina's mom. Her and Gen kind of reflect, like bounce off one another with their hatred for the Horde. Sky Admiral Rogers, her mom, her mom and dad died in South Shore. Thank you, Verguro, for following. Sky Admiral Rogers' parents were in South Shore when the Forsaken blighted it. And so she's more like, even though she says she hates the Horde, everything she's talked about hating the Horde has always been about the Forsaken. She hates the Forsaken. She's really okay with flying the airship to Stormheim when Anduin summons her to the Leaders Summit in Stormwind Keep. She's anti-Forsaken. I'm sure she hates the orcs too, but her narrative seems to be very...
Who doesn't?
I wouldn't be surprised if there's a Forsaken plotline in Battle for Azeroth, if she's an Alliance boss that the Horde has to take out. I would not be surprised if Sky Admiral Rogers gets taken out.
No.
What? Are you a fan of Sky Admiral Rogers?
I like her.
She's very...
Is she too Garithos-y?
Is that a problem though? Because Velen
want that, right?
Velen is super like, I'm 25,000 years old and I'm just the most...
We've been talking about Velen a lot.
Anduin has his own thoughts. Gen has kind of mellowed out, so I'd like to see Sky Admiral Rogers be
let's talk about BFA here for a second. How about Jaina's mom? I know we don't want to do spoilers, but Jaina's mom we're gonna see her, and she is a premium bitch. You know,
Is she? Though?
she's gonna be. I think she is. She's gonna be really cool. I like that I like that she is going to have to face the fact that her daughter is coming home and have this sort of real family moment. And I like that she's portrayed, and I hope that she'll be given justice over the course of the expansion.
Same.
Her and Gen, you know, they've got a history. We're going to see some of that.
There is.
It's going to be really cool.
I'm really trying not to talk about spoilers specifically for Battle for Azeroth.
I'm just very broad hints. I hope that's not too much. You can cut it out if it is.
As Spillander just said, because people are going to be seeing this tomorrow. Alliance players are going to be seeing this tomorrow. We're going to see Catherine, different Catherine Proudmoore.
Check gets me
in a cinematic. We're going to see her in a cinematic tomorrow.
A cinematic?
Maybe more.
A cinematic?
Guys, this has been a really long, rambly podcast.
We haven't even gotten to the interviews.
We haven't even gotten to the interviews.
Are we going to?
We're going to finish these up really fast. Okay. I think it's important to note that Ian Hazakostas talked with PC Gamer, and he said that the major reactions to what Sylvanas did is that of questioning if her decisions define the Horde as a whole. An old soldier is supposed to show that's not the case. And I think this might have been Blizzard's miscommunication, but I really think that they're trying to sell Sylvanas as who she's always been. And plague bombing Gilneas in a level 12 zone, maybe not everyone did the content back in Cataclysm. Maybe not everyone knows what she's capable of. Maybe all these people that I see on Twitter who have always been Sylvanas fans who are suddenly shocked and horrified, maybe they've just lived under a rock for the last 6, 7, 8 years. But now they've seen the tree go up in smoke. And I think that it's important to know that how Blizzard is writing the Horde is if you as a Horde player have a problem with what your war chief's doing, that's the point of the story. You're not supposed to be like, good job, guys. Take that, Night Elf children. No, you're supposed to be like, are we the baddies now? Like, this is... So, I just hold on. As Jack said a couple of podcasts ago, this is just the beginning.
Slow down.
As the Pandarans say, slow down.
Let's remember our Mists of Pandaria, control your passions.
Right? Like, literally,
Unless you're a Sith Panda.
We learned nothing from Mists. Like, the entire storyline of Mist, we learned nothing.
I loved Mist.
Mist was amazing.
I won't digress on that.
Boogaloo, what are you talking about? What did I say?
Wait, can I give an anti-shout-out to Phil?
Now, this has nothing to do with
me.
anything we've talked about today. I'm going to at you.
Don't at me.
When 8.0 launched, a lot of people kind of shat their pants because the 8.0 launch of like the pre-patch was not good. It was not a smooth start. And we talked about this in that particular podcast. People think tomorrow is going to be a shit show, and I could be wrong. Tomorrow might be a shit show, but over the last couple of weeks, they've been preparing for this launch, and it's literally just flip of a switch. Battle for Azeroth is in game. There's nothing to download tomorrow. There's nothing. There's no big patch or anything. They just flip the switch. So the expansion launch is just the flip of a switch. So people are freaking out. Don't freak out tomorrow. Like just do the thing.
Just let it flow.
What I'm going to end this podcast on, guys, is Battle for Azeroth launches.
Observe the events as they unfold.
So soon. And whether you're playing Alliance, Horde, or you're going to play both, I implore you, and I might be a hypocrite in this, but I implore you to watch the cinematic of each zone as you play through them. Don't go to Wowhead tomorrow. Sorry, Wowhead. Don't go to MO Champion. Do it after. But
get the
context,
full experience.
Get the full... Taryn Gregory once told me, to watch the cinematic in person and after you've just done all of the lead up to it and all of the stuff that happens after, it's a totally different experience than just going to Wowhead or going to YouTube or going wherever and watching it there. Live the game live the story moment,
Live it.
and see how that impacts your reaction. And reaction videos are huge, so throw it up on YouTube. Stannis is just going to go there straight ahead. Well, it will get spoiled in general chat anyway. Log on tonight, leave all your chats, and you're good. That is going to be the one thing I leave you with here tonight, guys, is when you play tomorrow, when you run around through the swamps of Nazmir, or the jungles of Zandalar, or Dressfar, or Stormsong, let it all play out and watch the cinematics as they happen. At least for one faction. If you can get through one faction, go watch the other ones online just to kind of get context, especially if you're never going to play the opposite faction. That's my recommendation. Jack, do you have any closing thoughts for the podcast? It's going to be on YouTube here.
Do I? Closing thoughts.
For Battle for Azeroth, just for anyone listening who's going to Battle for Azeroth.
I'd just give some advice in the similar vein of yours, which is, I'd say try to get yourself in the mindset of your main. Try to get yourself in the mindset of your orc, your human, your elf, your troll,
whether you roleplay or not.
Whatever you are, whether you roleplay or not. Think about how you, as this particular faction or this particular character, is reacting to all of this. I feel like this is the most player-consuming content they've released in a long time, and then I'd say embrace that. If you're outraged, feel outrage. That's okay. Feel whatever you're feeling. Feel it. That's all I'm saying. Feel it.
Do it.
Feel that shit.
Whether you're gonna play it.
Prepare your ass. Don't cut it.
I'm not.
Don't cut it.
No. RP nonsense aside, Spillander. Whether you roleplay on Warmaster Core, Moonguard, Argent Dawn, any of the other servers out there, or you're just kind of in your own little world when you're playing your character, think about
Sentinels.
A lot of people have a hard time thinking how their character would react. They're like, oh yeah, my character loves Sylvanas. Like, what do you play? I play an Orc Shaman.
Would they?
Would you? Yeah, I'm totally cool with burning the tree.
I'm a Tauren Druid. I love Sylvanas.
I love Sylvanas as a holy priest of
the Alliance.
Of the Nightborn. Like, what? No, like, think about it.
How do the Nightborn feel? The Nightborn are like, ooh.
The Nightborn are like,
I don't know about
chuckling, like, what the fuck? What is this?
Oh, yeah.
That was my cousin's,
what did
right?
We sign up for?
Jesse and Jack need to come roleplay on Argent Dawn EU. We're gonna hang up. We're gonna end this. Guys, thank you so much for listening to episode 17 of Decoded.
17 already? Jesus.
Of Decoded, a Lost Codex podcast. My name is Jesse, and I'm joined by
Jack. I am a Lost Codex artist, a podcast co-host, and a fabulous genie.
Undead.
Send me your wishes.
Undead genie.
In the comments, tell me what your wishes are. I will grant them.
3. No,
with conditions.
And
no, as many as you want.
I don't need to. That's going to be a lot. Okay. Guys, thank you so much for listening.
As many as you want.
Thank you so much for listening to episode.
Check out my art station.
My
Instagram's still empty.
Links down there. Go to his Twitter. Twitter.com/.
Don't go to my Twitter. I hate Twitter.
Follow him on Twitter. And tweet at him. Ask him how he is.
No.
Actually, tweet your 3 wishes at him on Twitter.
No.
He's going to uninstall the app and be really upset.
When I'm not on the next week's podcast, you're going to know why.
I hope every single person listening to this podcast has a great Battle for Azeroth launch. Enjoy Culture Ass. Enjoy Zandalar. It's almost here.
We're here. You're listening to it now, probably while you're doing content. Listen to the music and the quest text because it's probably awesome. To this if voice actor, don't listen to us.
Music and exactly. Why would you even do that? I don't know.
Listen to us on the train. I don't know wherever you live.
Train. Hogwarts. The kids are going back to Hogwarts soon, so they might.
Oh yeah, listen to us on the way to Hogwarts.
Yeah.
Hogwarts? What universe is this? Let's talk about Star Trek.
Let's do it. Guys, thank you so much. We'll see you next week for episode 18. I don't know what we're talking about next week. There's going to be so much to talk about.
Close to 20.
We're getting close to 20. We're just going to go to 20. Episode 20 is next week. We're skipping 18 and 19 just because screw it. Thank you guys so much, and we'll see you